from over here on Instagram and over here as well in all the places, YouTube and Facebook and everything. I wanted to hop on today and talk a little bit about how to organize your language learning in one weekend. So I've just shared a blog post today about this topic from London. Hello, Daniel. I've just shared a blog post this afternoon on this topic. And so I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about it here as well. And I just realized you probably can't hear me very well on all of the other places because I don't have my microphone plugged in. Let me do that now so you can hear what I'm saying. Hang on. Oh. Is that going to work? Is it going to let me? Oh, there we go. Okay, that should be better. That should be better. There we go. Excellent. All right. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I feel like, you know, you've been here before, right? Where you just feel like it's all kind of piling up. I think especially if you started something in January, like as a New Year's resolution, and you've got to this point and it's kind of like 2.5, 3 months in by now, maybe you've kind of got this things just everywhere. Everything feels a bit all over the place and a bit messy. And okay, enough's enough. You need to give it a full on overhaul. People joining from Texas, Indonesia, Brazil. This is amazing. So I wanted to talk about this. Like I said, there's a blog post over on lindsaydoeslanguages.com, so you can find out more there. And if you do want to work together on this sort of thing and really give your language learning like the best chance for the long haul to thrive, then I would love to work with you in Language Life. And you can find out more lindsaydoeslanguages.com/apply for that. So, all right then, how to organize your language learning in one weekend. And the main thing is Friday today, right? So you can literally start this weekend. You can go for it, right? Because this really begins on the Friday night. So today with the Friday, it's about accepting that there's no language learning going to happen this weekend, right? That is stage one, right? In that, just accept that the next 2 days, it's all about like hitting pause, taking a bit of a rest, taking a good, long, hard look at things, and then hitting reset so you're ready to go after this weekend. All right. So it starts on Saturday, right? Just today, you just need to accept no language learning for the weekend. All right. Just organization, pulling it all apart and putting it back together in a much better way. So Saturday, first of all, I want you to start by gathering everything together, right? So you probably got like some physical stuff like notebooks and textbooks and pieces of like post-it note stuff that you've just written the odd word on here and there in a language exchange, all of that stuff, put it all together. And the same as well with like your digital language learning, because so much right now is digital and it can feel very separate and it's very easy to ignore that kind of digital clutter that builds up as well. So think about, okay, what are all the apps I'm using? What are all the subscriptions I have, the YouTube channels I'm following, all of that stuff. And because it can be harder to like picture that because it's digital, try writing all of that down in a list so that you can see everything very clearly in front of you. So gather everything together. That's the first step. Then we're going to start with that physical stuff and we're going to go for like a physical tidy up. So you can go Marie Kondo on this and be like, okay, I'm going to pick this up. Does this spark joy? And really take it one thing at a time. Or you could maybe put everything into like a bin bag and be like, right, what am I thinking I want back there? Okay. And kind of actively then working in reverse, working backwards with that, remembering what you want to keep. So you could do it that way around. Doesn't really matter which way you do this. But the point is that you then have this clarity in terms of the physical stuff that you've got going on, the notebooks. If you've got loads of like sticky notes and at this point, if you have all of those little pieces of paper that are all over the place and you're like, okay, I do want to write this down though. I do want to keep them in like a separate place because you're going to be documenting all of that stuff later. Okay, next up, a digital tidy. So like I said, having everything kind of written down, all the digital stuff, all the Spotify playlists, the things that you've got on your Netflix watch list, what is it all? If it just feels overwhelming and it feels like it's too much, just delete the app, right? Erase it, remove it from the playlist. Like clarity is what you're going for here, especially when, you know, when you want that organization, it's the fuzziness that is blocking us there. So go for a real digital tidy. Your hard drives, remember, like the download folder. Like I know when I've been learning language like Guarani, for example, where there's not many physical resources, but the online stuff is where I can find more. So there's loads of like PDFs all over the place that like a tutor has sent me, and then one that I've downloaded, and organize all of that stuff. Are there any email as well? Think about that finally as well. So like, have you subscribed to like different email lists as you've been learning this language? Which ones are you actually engaging with? Which ones are really helpful for you? Focus on keeping those in your life, right? And just unsubscribe from everything else. So it's all nice and clear, right? And then you'd be like, oh, okay, it's all good, it's all good. Next thing is then distilling everything from everything, right? So thinking about all of those little post-it notes that you had, and like, oh, yeah, but I don't want to throw that away just yet, because I do want to make note of that. I do want to remember this. This is the point where you then can like put everything in one place. So what is it that you want? And this may take a while. You probably want to start with like a fresh notebook here, going through all of those old notes, digital, physical stuff, making note of everything that you still don't fully understand, you still don't really know 100%, right? Do use Notion and Excel sheet. That would be a really good thing for this stage. If that's something you use, go for it. If it's not, don't feel that you have to add something new in. I've got Notion for something. Someone sending me for something. Oh, I know, the podcast, the Fluent show that I do with Kirsten. But I've not really used it massively myself. I had a little play. I was like, I don't need another organizer thing. So I've kind of left it, right? And this is part of my point, because it's so easy to then feel like you need to be organized in all the places. So find what works for you. And if that's Notion, if that's Excel, keep that. If it's not, take it out, delete. So this is a really good point, because you want to clear all of this stuff. So yeah, distilling everything into then your like sort of narrowed down collection of music playlists, podcast stuff. And oh, you can be listening to stuff, by the way, while you're doing this, because this might take a while. So you can have all of those like podcasts, those playlists, those audio lessons that you've got, have a little listen in the background while you're working away, right? We're not worried about learning, but we can just casually bring that in there if you want to. And then it's time to review the resources, review the methods. Okay, so thinking about, okay, resources, I've got all of this stuff left, I'm happy with. I've got all these notebooks here, I'm happy with what's left. Everything else is gone for now. We don't need that right now. I want you to then ask yourself some questions when it comes to those resources and when it comes to the methods that you're using to learn and how you're learning as well, right? Number one, what does this resource consist of? And what skills does this resource actively help to improve, right? So is this just an audio lesson resource? So it's obviously listening, but are there ways that you can then use that to actively improve other skills? Like you can listen and repeat. So you can be shadowing, you improving your speaking, right? You can listen and try and write it down. You can be improving your reading, etc. So how can you use this in the best possible way? And all of these suggestions, like you don't have to do them all every single time. That's really important as well, right? So just reviewing though how you want to use them and how it's working. How do you use this resource? How often do I use this resource as well? How often would I like to use this resource? So is that in line, right? Is there a reason why you're not using it as much as you want, or why you're using it more than you would perhaps like to? And then can I use this resource in other creative ways beyond what I already do? So these are the things you want to be thinking about as you're reviewing those resources that you're now left with and the methods that you're learning with. Then also, finally for Saturday, review your time, your effort, and your energy. So there's like a lot to be said for the exterior of language learning, all that external stuff, like the resources, like all of the digital stuff we've just been mentioning, right? But it's also about you internally, right? Because you could have the best resources in the world, but if your expectations are totally out of whack, then it's not going to work, right? If your habits aren't going in, putting that energy into the right place, it's not going to work. So thinking about you as well. So a few questions to ask yourself. Number one, how do I feel about my language learning in general? Number two, how does this compare with how I feel before settling in for some dedicated language study time? So overall, you feel like, okay, yeah, it's good. But then when it comes down to like, okay, I've got half an hour, this is my time, I'm ready to give it a go. Are you exhausted? Are you scared? Are you looking forward to that? Are you nervous? Or are you feeling the same way, right? Number three, how does this compare to how you feel after? So maybe you're excited overall, you feel good when you start to sit down, but then when you've finished something, oh God, it takes a while to then get back to it. You put off. Maybe, right? So how do you feel at each stage of all of this? Number four, do I feel my progress and results reflect my effort, time, and energy? And this is the expectations, because sometimes you will feel like, no, my progress and results do not reflect my effort, time, and energy, because our expectations are out of line. So we need to adjust those expectations. Like, clap of the year, like, full respect for setting those expectations high and for feeling like, yeah, this is where I'm aiming for, this is what I want to do. But also, I want to give you that respect for acknowledging that those expectations were too high, and maybe just adjusting slightly so that it's more in line with where you're at, so that you are being able to kind of give your time, your effort, and your energy, and still feel that reward at the end of it, rather than feeling like, oh, it's not where I wanted to be, right? Number five, what exhausts me most when learning languages? What makes you feel drained and tired and exhausted and frustrated? Have a think about that too. Okay, that's your Saturday, right? So it's really starting with a full on clear out everything in front of you, take it all apart, split it all down, and then what are you left with? How can you kind of distill that even further to like, right, these are the things that really matter, starting that new notebook with the important stuff, and then you can get rid of all those extra little bits of post-it note or whatever it is, right? And then thinking, okay, what am I using these resources for? How am I using them? And how do I feel about it all? Reviewing your time, your effort, your energy. Sunday, okay? So this is the time now to set yourself some new goals. So ideally, when you're learning a language, you probably will start by setting goals, right? It's like step one. You've read it in a million different blog posts, and you've heard that that's the thing you have to do. So you're like, okay, I'm going to set myself a goal. But what we forget, and what is so often ignored, is that those goals need to be adjusted as you're working forward, right? This is again to do with the expectations. So when you're thinking back about reassessing any goals that you have set, or setting yourself some goals for the first time, maybe at this point, here are some questions for you. What do you want to keep using? What do you want to keep doing? What matters most, and how can you bring this into your learning? And when will you next check in? Right? So you're setting yourself some goals, however you choose to do that, and you're thinking about these things, right? So you're considering everything that we've done the day before and putting it into practice and applying it when we're setting those new goals. And that there's I mentioned this is in a blog post, right? I've just published. So if you go to lindadoeslanguages.com, there's a lot of posts there about goals that will help you here. Then I want you to treat yourself, right? Remember, this is like your weekend to just take a break. So you've given yourself that time to like assess everything and figure out where you're all at. Now I want you to treat yourself. What does that mean to you? Is that like a nice long bath? Is it a coffee and a cake out if you can go out to your favorite place? Is it an hour baking in the kitchen? You decide what it means to you to treat yourself. And also have some guilt-free language joy thrown in there as well. So maybe, we're not learning actively this weekend, but after thinking about all of this, you may be feeling kind of inspired. So how can you draw on that? Is there like a kind of dusty old book on the shelf that you're feeling quite drawn to right now? Is it that you've always wanted to just have a little look at Swedish over there, but you've never really wanted to because your goals are over here with this language, and well, now's the time to look at that Swedish stuff and have a little play with that other language, right? So whatever you're drawn to in terms of language stuff on the Sunday, on the second day of this, go for it. No guilt allowed, no learning necessary. It's all fine. And if there's none, if you actually are like, you know what, it's all good, just complete distance, please. I want a full break. That's fine too. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. You can literally do this weekend if you want to. If you're feeling that fuzziness and everything's all over the place, you can give yourself this time to put this into action this weekend. Come out on Monday ready to go, or you can do this whenever, right? So definitely come back to this and kind of use this process whenever you are kind of feeling this is needed, right? It's definitely something you can revisit. And if you would like to learn more with me, if you're feeling like, I am feeling like my language learner's all over the place, but a weekend it's not enough for me, I need more, then I would absolutely love to work with you in Language Life. This is my group program for language learners of any level, of any language. You can learn that language, right? And I am here with Language Life to empower you to get to that place where it feels so much more possible, and you're doing it for the long run, right? This isn't just like a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then you forget it like later down the line. This is how to fully like embody the language learner that is there inside of you, and how to bring that out and make it part of your life, part of your everyday life. And yeah, that's what Language Life is all about. So I would love to have you join us. There are 9 of the 12 modules of the curriculum already available for you when you join right now. And yeah, you can apply. It's lindsaydoeslanguages.com/apply. And the link is in my bio. I'm going to pop it here on Instagram. Excuse me, getting closer and frowny. Let me see. Apply. There we go. That's the link. lindsaydoeslanguages.com/apply. And I would love to have you join us. I look forward to reading your application. And yeah, have a great weekend. I will see you very soon. All right.